and not least a frequency rebellion by that state of being. And then there's being, but there's being expressed as doing. Leonardo da Vinci said, I've been impressed by the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. I've heard this phrase, knowledge is power. It's not. The use of knowledge is power. Knowledge without power, knowledge not used, might as well not be knowledge. It must be used to make a difference. A slave is one who wants someone to come and free him. We have to engage and not just wait for someone else to come along. Nothing strengthens authority so much as silence. Silence is compliance. Silence becomes cowardice, Gandhi said, when occasionally man's speaking out the whole truth and acting accordingly. It's not just about having our own truth, it's about speaking it and challenging that which seeks to stop it circulating. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Silence is compliance. And I do meet people who are aware and awakening to different views of reality, but they won't speak out about it because they're terrified still of the consequences. So they're not really awake yet, they're awakening to knowledge, but they're not using it. Human race, we need to get off our knees. We've been here long enough. Unthinking respect for authority is the greatest enemy of truth, said Einstein. Yes, it is. And what we'll accept, life will give us. This is the point, it's a very important point, when we're interacting with this all possibility. What we accept, we will allow to manifest in our lives because we'll pull it into manifestation because our perception is part of accepting that. When we go, that is not acceptable to me. No, I'm not acceptable. That is not acceptable to me. I'm not having that. What we're doing is we're putting a block on drawing that which we say we're not having out of all possibility into manifestation in our experience by simply saying, I'm not having it. Because what we'll accept, life will give us. So if we don't accept it, life will not give us because we won't create it. We've got to start standing our ground and saying, this is not acceptable to me, I'm not having it. No, under no circumstances. This is Mohammed Ali. During the period he was being forced into the army in Vietnam by conscription, and he said this: my conscience won't let me go shoot my brother or some Darga people or some poor hungry people in the mud for a big powerful America. And shoot them for what? They never called me nigger, they never lynched me, they didn't put no dogs on me, they didn't rob me of my nationality, rape and kill my mother and father. Shoot them for what? How can I shoot them poor people? Take me to jail. I'm not having it. This is not acceptable to me. And so there can be some consequences for that sometimes. But so what? The consequences, so what? Are not worse than having it. Not having it. Never, never be afraid, Martin Luther King said, to do what's right. Society's punishments are small compared with the wounds we inflict on our soul when we look the other way. Because we're infinite awareness, so there are consequences, okay, there'll be some more. There'll be another experience along in a minute. You never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. Bob Marley, it's very true, I've experienced that. You think you can take no more, and suddenly you can. You think you can take some more, and suddenly you can. And then you reach a point where you know you can take whatever they bloody throw at you. We are infinite power because we are infinite people, we are infinite consciousness, therefore we have limitless strength. It's just that our perceptions think we haven't until we're forced to express that strength, and then, hey, we have. And this whole thing is about persistence. It's not, doing one thing and then getting on with your life. It's persistence, continually pushing the door. Back 26 years ago, I was being driven around Australia in the back of a little car from place to place. Australia's a bloody big place in the back of the car, talking to next to nobody. But you keep persisting, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going, and suddenly opportunity in the world starts to open up to get to more people. The person who says it can't be done should not interrupt the person doing it. Speak your truth, walk your talk, never stop, and you'll get somewhere. You will. And the more we do it, the more we spread this stuff, because people are more and more open to listening, then this whole awareness will and awakening will motor faster and faster. And in the end, you know, we think we have no power, we have total power over this system. The number of people that are controlling billions in the world is tiny compared with the billions, tiny. The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. That's what the system's all about. Persuading us of this. Why? Because of this. The mystic Osho said, people are very afraid, and the system is deeply afraid, very much afraid of those who know themselves. They have a certain power, a certain aura, a certain magnetism, a charisma that can take out alive young people from the traditional imprisonment. The awakened man and woman cannot be enslaved. That is the difficulty. And he cannot be imprisoned. The awakened man and woman is the greatest stranger in the world. He does not seem to belong to anybody. No organization confines them. No community, no society, no nation. That's what happens when you get here. All that crap is of no longer any relevance to you and your life. And that's what the system is terrified of, because it needs us in that mode to control us. So, what's the answer? We always have been. You know, don't panic, organize. I think that's the answer to this. Crikey. But this is the problem. We've allowed the top to happen when the bottom should be happening. And this is why divide and rule is so important, to keep people apart and fighting each other, so the few go on controlling the many. If you put this into YouTube, you might have seen it. It's called The Tiny Few. It's just this little video which brilliantly highlights how the few in America are dictating the lives of the vast majority, while the vast majority just accept it. If these said, we're not having it, this is not acceptable to us, that has no power. It's a brilliant video. We have 535 members of Congress dictating to 300 million people with the president, and that's a much smaller number when you're talking about the hidden hand behind them. 650 MPs for 63 million people in Britain, an entire European Union controlled by unelected bureaucrats, millions and millions and millions of Europeans being controlled by a few, because we don't say this is not acceptable to us. Fortunately, a majority of Britain have just said that, and hopefully we're going to get out of it. We are the many, they are the few. Well, actually, that's a very good example. The majority of people in that Brexit European referendum said this is not acceptable to us. No matter what the political class spectrum says, we must stay in or catastrophe, we're not having it. And what happened? They lost their power. They've lost their power over us, and now they have to take us out, or at least try to manipulate us to stay in. But they have lost what they wanted, which was a vote to stay in, and their process, their game is in trouble now. We are the many, they are the few. I see a way out of this. There will be no change, there will be no change. Stop complying, start defying. And this is where we come back to earlier in the day. This Clinton-Trump thing, it's irrelevant to the change that needs to take place, because they're just representatives of the same force, and if we don't change, nothing's going to change. I'm no longer accepting things that I cannot change. It's time to change things I cannot accept. It's not acceptable to me. It's a machine. We're cogs in the machine. We cease to be cogs, the machine fails to function. Obey, you're a slave, disobey. That's freedom. No one rules if no one obeys. And we are the majority. We have the power. If we will not go along with what we're told to do, we have the power to stop what this crowd, this cabal wants. One has a moral responsibility, Martin Luther King said, to disobey unjust laws. And it's time we did en masse. And laws that take our freedoms away, laws that impose the state on our kids. All of these things, we need to start disobeying them or not complying with them. Non-compliance, non-violent non-compliance. And you know something? They have a Martin Luther King Day, right? Oh, Martin Luther King, great man, great man. Do you know if Martin Luther King was alive today, they'd call him an apologist for terrorism. That's what they'd call him. Freaking hypocrisy. Martin Luther King, because he's no longer here, he can be called a great man. If he was still alive doing what he did in the 60s, they would say that he was a threat to the state, doing the same thing. It's hypocrisy. What Martin Luther King did was absolutely fantastic in my view, and same what Gandhi did. Stand up and said, this is not acceptable to me. You assist, Gandhi said, an evil system most effectively by obeying its orders and decrees. An evil system never deserves such allegiance. Allegiance to it means participating and partaking in this evil. A good person will resist evil, an evil system with his or her own soul. So it's in our hands. What happens if they stop complying, Mom? We're fucked. Yes, exactly, you are. You are. Because our compliance is essential for the few controlling the many. If we dance to the non-comply dance and refuse to conform, what are they going to do if we do it in enough numbers? I will not comply, I will not lie down, I will not go quietly, I will not submit, I will not roll over, I will not shut up. And if enough of us say that, the system is over. It has to change because we are not investing our energy and engaging with it. And without us, there is no system. And another way of looking at this and dealing with this is looking each other in the eye, no matter what colour, creed, prejudice, religion, whatever, and saying, I am you, you are me, and we're all in this together. There is a manipulation of humanity, not a manipulation of Muslim people or Jewish people or middle-class Americans, of humanity. And if we come together and realise we're all in this together, then we can put the fault lines, the divide and rule down, and we can meet this as one unit. Slaves versus slaves is how we got into this mess. And we can get out of it if we start seeing each other as fellow targets of this manipulative force. My dot is the only dot. It's not. We need to look at all dots and all people and realise we're all in this together. It's not all about me. It's about humanity in general. All lives matter, and we are all in this together. This is not a conspiracy against Jewish people or Muslim people or Americans or South Africans. It's a conspiracy against humanity. And when we come together and realise that we're all being manipulated by the same force, then we have the unity, no divide and rule, which can meet the challenge and bring this to an end. Divided, we will not bring it to an end because we're too busy fighting each other. And without non-violence, the matrix has you. Redness doesn't do critical thinking. It's no good getting angry. It's no good wanting to fight and have a punch up. As the Beatles song said, when you talk about destruction, don't you know you can count me out? It's just feeding the beast. Martin Luther King, non-violence means avoiding not only external physical violence, but also internal violence of spirit. You not only refuse to shoot a man, you refuse to hate him. Because if we hate people, then we become them. I don't hate any of these people, the horrible, outrageous things, sickening things they do, because if I hate them, I become them. I move into their frequency with my feelings of hatred. I want to stop them doing what they're doing, but I refuse to hate them. Because I just become part of the problem, not the solution. This is the revolution, not violence. It's going from this to this. That's the revolution. That's the one that terrified of. And it's not just about opposing war that we see, it's about bringing peace into our own lives so that we resonate the frequency of peace. We can have ball war, but we can still have jaw war. Fighting among each other, conflict with each other. It's all adding to the beast, the frequency. You don't fight for peace, you peace for peace, and then you get peace. The power of thought and emotion. Hate. Okay, I hate you. I hate the people who are doing this to the world. Okay, what am I doing? I'm feeding the beast. You can hold that love vibration, but still do what you need to do to expose what's going on. Think love, think peace, think harmony. That's how the virus is going to be diluted, not by feeding it. That's what happens when we feed it. And this is a thing that I've noticed happening now, which relates to something I was